Well, today we remember September 11th, 22 years after our nation was attacked. New York Congressman Andrew Garbarino introducing a resolution pushing all 50 states to require that schools teach 9/11. Currently, only 14 states require students be taught the events that happened on that day. Joining me now, the man himself, New York Congressman Andrew Garbarino. He's a member of Financial Services, Homeland Security, and Ethics Committees. Congressman, good morning to you.
Good morning, Cheryl.
I have to tell you, I was surprised that it was only 14. You would think that something so horrible and so recent as September 11th would be taught in our schools across the board, and it's not.
Absolutely. I'm shocked. We did this resolution last year, hoping to move the needle, especially in New Jersey and Connecticut, which are states that faced a lot of people. A lot of people died from those states because they came to work in New York City, and they still don't require it. I'm happy New York does, but we're pushing here in Congress to make sure, even though it's 22 years later, that the promise we made that day, to never forget, is kept. We need to make sure that this stays on the top of people's mind, because it's not over. People are continuing to get sick. People are continuing to die from diseases that came from that day. Firemen, police officers, union workers who worked on the pile. People are still getting sick. So we need to have kids remember, what 9/11 means. It's been 22 years, and a lot of kids have now gone through college that were born after 9/11, and they may never have heard of what actually happened that day.
Well, I guess that's my question, too. We always say never forget, but are we forgetting?
I won't let people forget, and a lot of my colleagues won't. It's a bipartisan resolution, and it's something that we're going to keep passing until states start putting this in their curriculum. Hopefully, though, the remembrances that are being held in New York, Pennsylvania, and Washington today, and the rest of the states, will continue to have people, not just children, but adults, remember. I have some colleagues who act like it's happened so long ago that, we have a shortfall in the 9/11 healthcare fund, and they're fighting adding money to that. It's crazy. We have people. We said never forget. We have to make sure that these firemen, these cops, get the healthcare that they need and deserve for what they did. And I have colleagues in Congress that are opposing funding this shortfall in this program. It's like people are forgetting, but as long as I'm in Congress, as long as some of my colleagues are there from New York, we're not going to let people forget.
Well, and to your point, they are still getting sick. When we spoke about that the last hour, and it took comedian Jon Stewart to go to Capitol Hill with a very sick hero who has since passed away, and that got the attention of Congress. But it took Jon Stewart, a celebrity, to get attention to this, which I found that kind of amazing. But in the city, there's another problem that we're dealing with, and the mayor, he's now warning all New York City agencies they may have to slash up to 15% from their budgets by the spring in response to the cost of the migrant crisis that is now inflicting the city. Like COVID wasn't enough for New York City, and the homeless hotels wasn't enough for New York City. Now this, Congressman.
Yeah, it's crazy that New York City residents, New York State residents now have their property taxes and their income taxes going, they're supposed to be going to cops, firemen, schools. Now those are being cut. They're being told you have to cut 15%. I was reading an article this morning, NYPD, Fire, FDNY, Corrections, and Sanitation were all told they have to cut their overtime. These are emergencies. You can't plan emergencies. How do you know if you're going to have to cut your overtime? So the items like the cops, the firemen, like I said, where property taxes, income taxes are supposed to go to make a resident's life better and safer, are now being cut to deal with these undocumented, over 120,000 now, who are in New York City, because of not just the progressive policies of the Biden administration at the border, but also the policies of New York State and New York City. New York State and New York City in the past couple of years have passed driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants, voting for undocumented immigrants, a $2 billion fund, a taxpayer-funded $2 billion fund to go to unemployment for undocumented immigrants. It's these progressive pro-sanctuary policies that are causing everyone to come to New York City, and now you have the politicians complaining about it. Of course something was going to happen. But now, so what the residents have to do is they got to blame their own elected officials in New York City. It's those are the ones who are running New York City, running New York State, that are putting these policies in place that are now causing what we're seeing in New York City.
Congressman, we had Andrew Ansbro. He is the president of the Uniformed Firefighters Association here in New York. He joined us last hour, and we asked him about these cuts, these overtime cuts, and how this is going to affect their members. And again, I have to reiterate here, this was announced right as we go into the 9/11 remembrances of today. Sir, listen to what he told us.
The last few years, the overtime has actually been quite rampant. When it started with COVID virus coming through, and then the vaccine mandate, which we fought against, it put a lot of my members on the unemployment line, and they were out of work for a long time. Still, several aren't even back yet. But most of our pay and overtime comes operationally from riding in the fire trucks out around the city. So for them to cut overtime, they would have to actually cut services. There's very little overtime out there that isn't spent directly on providing emergency services in New York City. It's going to be tough to do for the FDNY. I don't know about other agencies, but when it comes to the emergency services that we do in the police department too, I find it very hard for there to be any cuts that would not seriously affect public safety.
Congressman, when you go back to the Hill tomorrow, is this something that you can put more attention on? I realize this is a city budget issue, but this is the migrant crisis, and this is affecting FDNY. This is affecting NYPD. This is affecting the country. Can this be something that we can see more action on?
Well, we're going to have to do something. We're going to have to put pressure on the Biden administration to change his policies there at the border, because we're just not going to send a blank check. We need to make sure New York City's protected, and Andrew does a great job for his members. I work very closely with him, and he's right. There's a staffing issue because of COVID and other things that have happened. The pro-criminal policies in New York City caused police to leave. So there's a staffing problem. So cutting overtime is going to cut services. I know plenty of cops in the city. My brother-in-law is a fireman. They can't, they are working all the time because of a staffing problem. So cutting overtime is going to put New York City residents and New York State residents in danger. So we can't let that happen. But it's not just going to be a blank check from Congress to continue supporting these bad policies in the Biden administration at the border and the bad policies that New York City and New York State have done themselves.
All right,
so, there's going to have to be a negotiation. But we can't let the residents be harmed.
The budget fight is coming due, and it's starting this month. Congressman Andrew Garbarino, thank you for being here, in particular on 9/11. We certainly appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Cheryl.